One entitled demand, one fatal miscalculation. That's all it took to turn routine Karen behavior into the 6 most horrific deaths ever, proving that when toxic entitlement meets deadly consequences, reality doesn't care about your social media followers or corporate title. It was March 15, 2017, when Vanessa Clay's relentless need to dominate every interaction would finally catch up with her in the most horrific way imaginable. Vanessa, a 42-year-old pharmaceutical sales manager from Columbus, Ohio, had built her entire identity around intimidating service workers and demanding special treatment wherever she went. Standing 5 feet 6 inches tall with perfectly styled blonde hair, she carried herself with an air of superiority that made everyone around her uncomfortable. Her weapon of choice was her expensive Hermes scarf, which she wore like a badge of honor while berating minimum wage employees. That Tuesday afternoon, Vanessa had already terrorized 3 different establishments. She made a teenage Starbucks barista cry over Fomart, got a McDonald's employee written up for allegedly slow service, and screamed at a Target cashier for refusing her expired coupon. Each confrontation was live-streamed to her 5,000 social media followers who encouraged her toxic behavior. At Westfield Shopping Center, Vanessa arrived at the jewelry store demanding a $300 return without a receipt. When the clerk politely explained store policy, Vanessa exploded into her signature tirade, adjusting her designer scarf dramatically while filming the interaction. The young employee called security guard Marcus Williams, a 28-year-old father of 2 who had dealt with difficult customers before, but never anyone quite like Vanessa. As Vanessa descended the escalator, she spotted Marcus below and immediately began her assault. Leaning over the handrail while maintaining her live stream, she screamed about incompetent employees and threatened to have everyone fired. Her need to gesture dramatically while filming and carrying multiple shopping bags created a perfect storm of reckless behavior. The Hermes scarf that Vanessa used as her symbol of superiority began dancing in the air as she waved her arms aggressively. In her rage-fueled tunnel vision, she failed to notice the fabric drifting toward the escalator's side panel mechanism. The moving machinery caught the silk material and began pulling it tight around her neck. For 45 agonizing seconds, security cameras captured Vanessa clawing desperately at the scarf that was now strangling her. The same hands she had used moments before to point accusingly at employees were now fighting for her life. Other passengers screamed and frantically searched for the emergency stop button, but it was too late. The escalator's relentless mechanical force compressed Vanessa's cervical vertebrae while completely obstructing her airway. Her 140-pound frame went limp as the designer accessory she had worn to intimidate others became the instrument of her death. Emergency responders arrived 8 minutes later, but Vanessa Clay was already gone. The irony was not lost on anyone present. The woman who had spent years using her status symbols to terrorize service workers had been killed by the very scarf she wore to establish dominance. Her final live stream, still recording as paramedics worked, captured her last entitled demands before the fatal accident. Marcus Williams, the security guard she had been screaming at, required months of counseling to cope with watching someone die while cursing his name. The incident went viral, but instead of sympathy, millions of viewers mocked Vanessa's entitled behavior with comments like "Play Karen games, win Karen prizes." Vanessa's family attempted to sue them all, but security footage clearly showed her reckless behavior directly caused the accident. The case was dismissed, and Westfield implemented new safety protocols including loose clothing warnings and additional emergency stops on all escalators. The tragedy became a cautionary tale about how toxic entitlement can have deadly consequences, with Vanessa Clay's name becoming synonymous with the ultimate Karen karma. It was August 3, 2018, when Jillian Frost's corporate entitlement would send her plummeting to her death in a Denver parking garage. Jillian, a 38-year-old HR director standing 5 feet 4 inches tall, had spent her career wielding power over employees like a weapon. She drove a pristine white BMW SUV that she used to intimidate anyone she deemed beneath her social status, always carrying business cards listing her corporate title to establish dominance over service workers. That Tuesday morning had already been a disaster for Jillian. After being denied a promotion she felt entitled to, she embarked on a revenge shopping spree to soothe her wounded ego. She had already screamed at a gas station attendant over pump speed, demanded a Subway manager fire an employee over sandwich assembly, and posted Instagram stories mocking what she called incompetent minimum wage workers. At the Target parking garage, Jillian's entitled rage reached a boiling point. She spent 20 minutes aggressively honking at families and elderly shoppers while filming them through her windshield. Her social media followers ate up her content titled "Teaching Parking Lot Etiquette to Peasants," encouraging her increasingly toxic behavior. When Jillian spotted the Martinez family loading groceries, she immediately pulled behind them and began laying on her horn. The family included 78-year-old grandmother Maria Martinez, who moved slowly with her walker due to arthritis. This fueled Jillian's impatience as she filmed while screaming about important people having jobs to get to. Unable to contain her corporate Karen rage, Jillian exploded from her vehicle like a woman possessed. She began her signature intimidation routine, stepping backward onto the concrete safety barrier to gain height advantage while filming and threatening to have the entire family arrested for obstruction. The 42-inch concrete barrier had been weakened by recent construction work, though it appeared solid. As Jillian gestured wildly while maintaining her confrontational stance, the compromised structure couldn't support her aggressive movements. Her 135-pound frame, combined with violent gesturing, caused the barrier to give way completely. Jillian plummeted 35 feet headfirst onto the asphalt below, her designer heels flying off during the fall. The impact was devastating. Her skull fractured in multiple places while her spine severed at the C2 vertebrae. Brain matter scattered across the pavement as her body went into immediate cardiac arrest. The Martinez family watched in horror as the woman terrorizing them just seconds before lay motionless in a growing pool of blood. Maria Martinez, despite being the target of Jillian's final tirade, called 911 with shaking hands. Paramedics arrived within 6 minutes, but Jillian was gone. Her phone, still clutched in her death grip, contained the final video of her entitled behavior causing her demise, showing her stepping onto the barrier while screaming threats before capturing her fatal fall. The parking garage was immediately closed for inspection, revealing multiple safety violations. Target faced a $2.3 million OSHA fine, though reduced when investigators determined Jillian's reckless behavior contributed significantly to the barrier failure. Online reactions were overwhelmingly unsympathetic. Comments flooded social media with phrases like, "She literally died mad about a parking space," and "Corporate Karen meets concrete reality." Her employer quietly restructured their HR department. After her history of workplace bullying emerged during the investigation, the Martinez family, traumatized by witnessing the death, received counseling and a settlement. Grandmother Maria developed severe anxiety about public spaces, forever haunted by being someone's final victim before their demise. Jillian Frost's death became a cautionary tale, proving that gravity doesn't care about your corporate title or entitled attitude. It was June 22, 2016, when Whitney Collins's obsession with authority and viral fame would crush her to death at a Phoenix McDonald's drive-thru. Whitney, a 35-year-old middle school vice principal standing 5 feet 5 inches tall, had built her identity around wielding power over teenagers and service workers. Her red Honda Civic was equipped with phone mounts for filming confrontations, and she carried laminated credentials to intimidate anyone who questioned her authority. Whitney's vice principal Karen TikTok account boasted 8,000 followers who consumed her daily content of berating fast food workers and retail employees. She had perfected using her educational position as a weapon, constantly reminding people that she'd dealt with lying teenagers and knew insubordination. That Tuesday morning had been productive for Whitney's content creation. She had suspended 3 students for attitude problems, filmed herself screaming at a parent who questioned her methods, and posted about teaching respect to the next generation and their enabling parents. Whitney was infamous at this burger joint's location, having previously gotten 2 teenage employees fired by filming them and demanding corporate action. Her signature move involved exiting her vehicle during drive-thru disputes to intimidate young workers while live streaming. When 17-year-old employee Jake Martinez informed Whitney that the ice cream machine was broken, she launched into her tirade about being a school administrator who dealt with lying teenagers daily. Her followers commented encouragement as she began her escalation routine. Unable to contain her need for dramatic content, Whitney exited her Honda Civic while leaving it in drive, live streaming as she approached the menu board. She began pounding on the structure while screaming about incompetence and threatening to shut down the establishment. To intimidate Jake and capture better footage, Whitney began violently shaking the 200-pound electronic menu board support pole. The structure had been loosened by Arizona windstorms, but Whitney was too focused on her performance to notice the dangerous swaying. The menu board couldn't withstand Whitney's assault and began toppling toward her as she continued filming. In her final moments, she was screaming blame at Jake when the metal structure struck her across the back with devastating force. Whitney was crushed between the falling menu board and her slowly rolling Honda Civic. Her spine snapped instantly while her ribcage collapsed under the weight. Internal organs ruptured as 200 pounds of metal compressed her 125-pound frame against the bumper. Her phone captured every horrific second as she was pinned and crushed. The footage showed her final accusatory stare at Jake, still trying to blame the teenager as her life ended. Jake Martinez quit immediately and required therapy for survivor's guilt, haunted by Whitney's final moments of blaming him. The school district investigated Whitney's conduct, revealing inappropriate interactions with students and parents documented on social media. Whitney Collins' death became the ultimate cautionary tale about Karen culture and deadly consequences of entitled behavior, proving viral fame isn't worth dying for. It was November 11, 2015, when Aaron Lockhart's elitist entitlement would trigger a deadly stampede at a Seattle Whole Foods that would crush her beneath the very people she despised. Aaron, a 44-year-old luxury real estate agent standing 5 feet 7 inches tall with platinum blonde hair, had built her career around exclusivity and looking down on anyone she deemed unworthy. She drove a white Mercedes and carried business cards listing her million-dollar sales to establish superiority over common folk. Aaron specialized in policing who belonged in upscale spaces, having previously gotten families removed from restaurants and demanding stores create premium customer lines. Her Instagram showcased her lifestyle while mocking poor people, accumulating followers who encouraged her classist behavior. That Black Friday morning had been productive for Aaron's superiority complex. She had posted stories ridiculing Target families, demanded a Starbucks barista be fired, and live-streamed herself lecturing a pregnant woman about shopping etiquette. After champagne brunch, Aaron arrived at Whole Foods emboldened by alcohol and social media encouragement. She had boasted about educating peasants about their place, carrying her phone to document confrontations for devoted followers. Aaron's signature tactic involved physically blocking customers she deemed unworthy from accessing premium products while filming encounters. She used her height, designer clothes, and condescending tone to make families feel unwelcome in her territory. When the Rodriguez family approached the last organic turkey, Aaron swooped in like a predator. She began her tirade about being a premium customer while filming the family, particularly targeting the elderly grandmother who moved slowly and spoke limited English. Unable to accept that common people deserved the same products, Aaron physically grabbed the turkey while screaming about organic standards. When Mrs. Rodriguez maintained her grip, Aaron's entitled rage reached dangerous levels. In her fury to wrestle the turkey away while filming, Aaron made aggressive backward movements near the olive oil display. Her designer heels and alcohol-impaired balance made her increasingly erratic as she refused releasing either turkey or phone. Aaron's violent struggling caused her to fall backward into stacked olive oil bottles, creating a devastating domino effect. Glass exploded as multiple shelving units collapsed, the sound echoing like gunshots. Panicked shoppers, thinking they were under attack, rushed toward exits in a human stampede. Aaron lay trapped beneath fallen shelving and broken glass as terrified customers trampled over her during their desperate escape. The 140-pound agent suffered severe carotid artery lacerations from shattered glass, while sustaining massive skull trauma from falling canned goods. Approximately 15 customers stepped on her body, crushing her ribcage and puncturing her lungs. Aaron's final moments were spent clutching the organic turkey she died fighting for, her blood mixing with olive oil on the floor. Her phone continued recording the chaos she created, capturing her own death. Paramedics found Aaron in cardiac arrest with massive blood loss. 20 minutes of resuscitation failed as she had lost too much blood from her severed artery. Security footage showing Erin's entitled behavior causing the stampede went viral. Online reactions were brutal, with comments flooding social media mocking her death over groceries. 3 customers required hospitalization for stampede injuries. The Rodriguez family received death threats from Erin's followers until accounts were deactivated, requiring police protection. Whole Foods implemented crowd control measures and reinforced shelving. Erin's firm discovered her history of discriminating against clients, leading to investigations and her name being removed from properties. Erin Lockhart's death became a cautionary tale about how classist entitlement can have deadly consequences. It was July 4, 2019, when Natalia Brooks' obsession with neighborhood control would send her drowning to the bottom of a Miami pool during what should have been a patriotic celebration. Natalia, a 39-year-old homeowners association president, standing 5 feet 3 inches tall, had transformed her HOA position into a personal dictatorship. She drove a white golf cart equipped with cameras and citation books, patrolling the neighborhood like a military commander, enforcing martial law on suburban families. Natalia's Facebook group, Violation Reporting, had over 200 members who encouraged her surveillance tactics. She had installed security cameras to monitor neighbors and was notorious for filming residents during private moments, posting footage online with rants about property values. That Independence Day morning had been productive for Natalia's authoritarian agenda. She had issued citations for excessive patriotic decorations, filmed families for noise violations involving children playing, and posted Facebook rants about inconsiderate neighbors destroying property values. After consuming wine while patrolling, Natalia spotted cars at the Johnson family's pool party. Her alcohol-fueled authority kicked into overdrive as she began filming while screaming about unauthorized gatherings and parking violations. Natalia's signature tactic involved walking backward while maintaining aggressive eye contact during confrontations, a psychological dominance play perfected through years of neighborhood harassment. This move had intimidated dozens of residents into submission. Arriving at the pool party in business attire with her clipboard, Natalia crashed through the gate, screaming about illegal gatherings while filming terrified children and families trying to enjoy their holiday. Unable to contain her HOA authority complex, Natalia began confronting guests about parking. She walked backward along the pool's edge to maintain her intimidating stare while screaming about running the neighborhood and demanding respect. To establish maximum dominance, Natalia stepped onto the decorative stone coping surrounding the pool. The stones had become slippery from splashing water, but Natalia was too focused on her power performance to notice the dangerous surface. As Natalia gestured wildly with her clipboard while walking backward, her business heels lost traction on the wet stone. Her 130-pound frame tumbled backward into the 8-foot deep end, still wearing her heavy business suit and leather shoes. The waterlogged clothing immediately dragged Natalia downward as she thrashed frantically. Her clipboard floated beside her as she struggled desperately, unable to swim and weighed down by her authority costume that became a death trap. Party guests initially thought Natalia was staging another dramatic confrontation. By the time they realized the situation was genuine, she had been underwater for over 3 minutes. Natalia suffered drowning-induced cardiac arrest as pool water filled her lungs. Her final moments were spent clawing at the water while her clipboard sank beside her, the symbol of her tyranny becoming waterlogged evidence. Emergency responders arrived within 8 minutes, but Natalia was dead at the pool bottom. Her body was recovered, still clutching HOA violation forms, the papers she used to terrorize neighbors now dissolved into illegible pulp. The community's reaction was notably unsympathetic, with neighbors privately expressing relief. The Johnson family faced no consequences as the party was within the ordinances and Natalia had been trespassing. Natalia's HOA position was dissolved, and the neighborhood association was restructured to prevent future harassment. Her Facebook group was deactivated after members began celebrating her death. The incident led to statewide HOA reforms limiting president's authority. Natalia Brooks' death became a cautionary tale about how power-hungry behavior can literally drag you under. It was September 8, 2018, when Danica Wells' road rage obsession would send her SUV flipping through the air at 75 miles per hour on Interstate 75 in Atlanta, Georgia. Danica, a 41-year-old corporate compliance officer standing 5 feet 6 inches tall, had weaponized her enforcement authority into a personal crusade against anyone who challenged her rules. Her black SUV was equipped with dash cams, custom horns, and compliance officer decals that justified her highway vigilante behavior. Danica specialized in policing other drivers like subordinates, having received 3 citations for aggressive driving while filming motorists for violations. Her LinkedIn showcased posts about holding people accountable and teaching respect to insubordinate individuals. That Friday morning had been productive for Danica's power complex. She had fired 2 employees, posted rants about teaching respect to workers, and was taking prescription stimulants without medical supervision, amplifying her aggressive personality. Danica's signature highway intimidation involved pulling alongside vehicles to scream at drivers while maintaining high speeds, using her corporate authority to justify dangerous confrontations. She believed her compliance position gave her jurisdiction over every driver. When a compact Honda merged in front of her SUV during rush hour, Danica launched into her highway tirade. She began aggressively tailgating while honking and flashing high beams, filming the alleged violation for social media content. Unable to contain her enforcement obsession, Danica pulled alongside the Honda at 75 miles per hour and began screaming through her window about proper merging procedures. She swerved dangerously close while gesturing wildly, trying to force them off the road. Danica's need to maintain her confrontational filming stance created tunnel vision. She became consumed with punishing the other driver, focusing entirely on her power trip rather than highway safety. Traffic ahead had stopped for construction work, with orange cones and concrete barriers clearly visible. But Danica was too obsessed with her enforcement performance to notice the dangerous situation developing. Maintaining 75 miles per hour while screaming about teaching driving lessons, Danica's SUV struck the concrete construction barrier with devastating force. The impact launched her 4,000-pound vehicle into the air, causing it to flip 3 times before crashing upside down. Danica's body was thrown around the interior during the violent flipping sequence. Her spine severed at multiple points while her skull fractured against the roof. Internal organs ruptured from deceleration forces as twisted metal crushed her 140-pound frame. Emergency responders found Danica's SUV destroyed and her body lifeless in the wreckage. Her dashcam footage captured every moment of her final road rage incident, showing her aggressive behavior directly causing the fatal crash. The driver she had been harassing provided witness testimony describing Danica's escalating aggression. Despite being traumatized by witnessing her death, they required counseling for survivor's guilt. Danica's dashcam footage went viral when released by authorities, showing her screaming threats while ignoring traffic safety. Online reactions were unsympathetic, with comments like "Compliance Karen couldn't comply with driving laws" flooding social media. Her employer faced scrutiny when Danica's history of abusing authority emerged. The company implemented mandatory anger management training for compliance officers and reformed enforcement policies. Danica Wells died trying to enforce rules on others while ignoring them herself, proving concrete barriers don't care about corporate authority. If these horrific Karen deaths left you speechless, prepare yourself for what's coming next. Click the video on your screen for more shocking stories of entitled behavior that turned deadly.